Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Nikki D back again today with
Jackie D.
And today's video is going to be starting a new series on our channel where we're not really a podcast,
Not quite a commentary channel,
but where we give our humble thoughts and unwanted opinions. We will be talking about an array of different topics where we give our opinions and nobody asks for them. So today's video, we're going to be talking about our thoughts on the Gabbie Hanna Trisha Paytas podcast, on Gabbie's podcast called Burnout. That's what it's called, right?
Yes.
Okay. Oh my God. So we have both watched it, but we haven't discussed it because we were both about to tell each other about it. And I was like, no, let's wait and save it for our little video. So here we are, and we're going to talk about it. So
where to start?
Yeah,
really?
where to start? Honestly, well, at first, can I just say, we're not going to mention names, but does Gabbie Hanna remind you of somebody that we know? Somebody that I used to be really good friends with?
I'm not off the top of my head.
Really?
No.
Oh, see, she reminds me of somebody, but I'll tell you off.
Yeah, I'm interested to know
camera.
who you're thinking about here.
But at first, I was taken aback by how chill she was. And is it just because I was thinking, wow, is she like high or something? Like, why is she so chill? But then I saw the little Burnout logo, and it was like, yeah, kind of like a pot smoking little guy. He had smoke coming out. So is that why? Is she like high during these podcasts?
I don't really know.
I'm not super familiar with her podcast. Like, this was the first one I've ever seen.
Same.
But immediately off the bat,
To me, she, not to interrupt you,
No, go
but
ahead.
she almost came off kind of like manic.
yeah, really?
Yeah.
I mean, she was chill, but she was kind of all over the place in a way, I feel like.
Okay, so hold on. Let's just start from the beginning here. Can I just say it was like an hour, like an hour and a half?
It was long.
It was a long podcast, and I felt like it was like an hour and 30, 40 minutes of my life that I will never get back.
It was too long, especially considering I was thinking about this, that they said they had talked off camera for hours and hours, and Trisha ends up telling us that they were there for like 6 hours.
Right.
That's a long time to be talking about kind of like the same thing, like
Right.
rehashing.
And I thought it was very anticlimactic. I mean,
Yeah.
I felt like when they said they had been talking for like an hour or something before they even started recording, I was annoyed because I thought like this is the podcast where you're supposed to be hashing it out.
That should have been on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they kept making these awkward breaks, which I thought was weird. It was like when things were getting too heated, they would like go on a break and then they'd come back.
It was very awkward. I thought Trisha was extremely awkward. I thought she was very, I don't know. And in a way, I know she said she wasn't trying to gaslight or fake. And personally, I like Trisha, but I felt like she came off really fake.
See, okay, I thought she did at first too, but then when I was like, I've actually watched a podcast now twice.
Me too. I was watching it
because
before we
I had
came
to kind of refresh myself,
Right.
Because it was so boring the first time, and like you said, awkward. I kind of was like tuning it in and out at times, and I wanted to make sure that I had an idea of what was actually happening
Yeah.
a second time. But I feel like Trisha didn't know how to handle the situation because Gabbie was insisting that things happened, and Trisha was trying to be respectful,
Right.
and not be like, that absolutely didn't happen.
Right.
She wasn't trying to be confrontational, and I felt like she didn't know how to express herself or handle that, because you have someone who's like forcing something on you, basically saying like, no, this happened.
Right.
And I right from the get-go too, I just want to say it seemed they were very disconnected.
They were. I think Gabbie, not to cut you off.
No.
I think Gabbie was like, her whole idea of the internet and how like her personality and who she is tied to it was so detached and different from Trisha. Like, I feel like Gabbie is putting way too much thought and
emphasis, I think,
into like online associations and friendships and stuff, and like who she is. And Trisha's just kind of like, girl, it's just the internet. Like,
Right.
This isn't real. This isn't whatever.
Well, I think that's why it started out on an awkward bad foot from the get-go, is because they both went in there with like two different like
mindsets. Yeah.
And it was very clear that Gabbie had a very different idea of what their relationship was or friendship was than what Trisha had thought it was.
Right. That's true.
And so that kind of made it, just from jump, really awkward.
Even though, like, but I'm even talking about, like, when Gabbie's talking about the music thing and how Trisha called her out on that, and she was like, well, it hurt me because, you know, you're another woman calling. It's like, Gabbie, no one's saying that the internet is going to be fair and sweet and, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, she has this idea that, I don't know, I feel like Gabbie has this, like, twisted idea that the internet has to be nice to her, like, respect you. I mean, I did have to say, I liked how Gabbie was saying, like, she tries not to judge people based on her, like, interaction, like,
right.
the situation with Rebecca Black. And how, like, when you see drama channels coming up and posting about, oh, so-and-so and this scandal, Gabbie comes at it from a more, like, well, I mean, they're still a person. I'm not going to try to judge them on this. You know, everybody makes mistakes. It's a bad, you know, error of their ways, blah, blah, blah. You know, she's trying to be more compassionate, whereas Trisha's kind of like, yeah, but it's the internet. It's scandal. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, Trisha's not looking at it, like, on a human level. Like, well, what led up to this? Like Gabbie said, you know what I mean?
And
yeah.
Not to interrupt you. Yeah, I did like how Gabbie said too, you know, based on who you are and what the interaction is with you, there's so many variations of who you are.
Yes, I did
based on
agree with
other
that.
people's perspectives.
Yeah.
And I never really thought about it like that before.
I
but I was like, wow,
that.
yeah, that is pretty deep.
That's true.
You know, you could have a really great interaction with one person and that same day, hours later, have a completely different interaction with somebody else.
Well, and just brings into question, like, even when she said about, you know, like, her old boyfriend would have something different to say than her new boyfriend. Like, people who are in relationships for, like, a really long time who kind of grow up together, and people might, like, grow out of love because you're ever evolving as a human, like,
right.
learning and growing, and you're not the same as you were 10 years ago. So if you've been with a partner 10 years ago, like, they may start to think you've changed or you're different or you're whatever, because literally you're still growing. Like, we've been talking about this a lot, me and Jackie, that we're 34 years old now, and we're not having like an identity crisis, but almost like we're digging deep to find out like who we really are. Like, things are being brought to light, you know, just that we are having to face, and we're like, how do we deal with this? Who really are we? Like, you know, you're just changing and growing all the time. So I do agree with what I liked what she said about that.
Yeah.
But I felt like Trisha was just a little fake in the way that she would be like, well, yeah, and she like, I didn't feel like she was like fully saying like what she wanted to say about stuff.
I think she was tiptoeing because I do think Gabbie is so fragile. Trisha wasn't. I think Trisha was very off put by the entire thing because I think Trisha went there with the idea of we're going to go and squash this beef.
Right.
But then Gabbie was like, no, I don't want that to be about drama, like the actual podcast. I want it just to be about, you fun
and
stuff.
Me,
you
yeah.
and me. Yeah, and I think that is kind of where the confusion started because Trisha's thinking like, I'm here to squash this beef with
the
you.
podcast
This is what we're going to talk
about the beef. Yeah.
And we talked about the beef off camera.
Right.
And so now, and I do think, like I said, there's discrepancies between really what
their perception of what the relationship was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that like was off-putting.
Right.
And you're, like Trisha said, like, I'm not a Trisha stan, but I thought she handled it the best she could given the situation she was. And also because Gabbie, I felt like for Gabbie, this was more like a therapy session for her. It was like the closure she needed more than Trisha.
It was odd because too, she said like, oh yeah, like you said, like a therapy session. She's like, this is like bonus round, and I think we should be really proud
of ourselves.
And it's like,
and what we've accomplished.
Yeah, like what are you, lady? Chill out. I felt like Gabbie was almost trying to be too like sweet and kind in a way, like too chill, like too like. I mean, I have to say, I don't watch a lot of Gabbie. No. I used to like, I've seen some of the scandals she's been in. She can be really loud and crazy and manic and whatever. I do, I think she was a little more appealing, like in the podcast, because she was more chill. She was more human. I feel like she was.
But I almost thought she was trying to convince herself of that. She's like, I'm chill.
Yeah.
I'm this. I'm that. Like even like how she started, like, hey guys, it's a podcast. Yeah. Like I felt like she says that's who she's always been.
Right.
But I don't know, a lot of what was being said, and I feel like a lot of the podcast was like Gabbie trying to convince herself. I do think she's on a path to maybe being this person, but I don't think she's there yet. Right. I think she's trying to convince herself of it. And also, I feel like she was talking out of both sides of her mouth.
Yeah, I agree with that. And she would say to like Trisha, like, oh, now you're in this place, and like where you can be your authentic kind of self, And I'm kind of like, Trisha's never been authentic on the internet. I feel like she's like the biggest troll. Like, where are you coming up with the idea that Trisha is at her like, most authentic self right now? But also like some of the things Trisha said kind of like, how she was like, I don't really care what people think. Okay, but you do. Like, the situation with the H3 podcast and AB, like, you made several videos about AB and, like, how insulted you were and offended you were. And so it's like, don't act like, number one, you don't care. You know what I mean? I think overall, Trisha does just see the internet as, like, this entertainment. It's fake. It's not real. Like,
it's a simulation.
Yeah, like, you know, I'll say whatever I want to say because maybe in her mind, like, these beefs really aren't real. It's just, like, you know, she just, like, when she said, I just said that to say it, you know what I mean, about Gabbie's music.
Yeah.
But then when she was talking about, like, I have no friends, and Ethan and Hila, like, when she said they weren't friends, like, I'm like, come on, girl. Like, yeah, you may not want to have a lot of friends, but don't... I just feel like it's almost, like, too much. Like, she's, like, faking this, I don't have friends. Or I still think, yeah, it's either, like, something where... I don't know why she's trying to give off this, like, impression that, like, she doesn't need friends or doesn't want friends or whatever.
I almost think it was
a defense mechanism.
Her way of kind of telling Gabbie, like,
oh, that's an interesting thought.
I don't have friends.
Right, yeah, like, you know, so you're not my friend because I don't have friends.
Yeah, like, we're good, like, on a person-to-person level, like, no hate, with peace and love. You know, I respect you, you respect me, but don't think that from this podcast we're gonna have this blossoming friendship because I don't do friends.
Well, then even after the fact, she said, like, she almost regretted it, but she didn't regret it. And I was thinking, well, then...
Because I think she said that because nothing really seemed to be resolved.
Well, at least not from what we saw on the podcast, but that made me think, like, then what happened behind the scenes that you regret it? You know what I mean? Like, okay, we didn't see anything resolved really on their podcast, but then... You know, they said that they had all this behind the scenes.
Well, I think that's what Trisha regretted. I think she wished they would have been completely transparent with the entire thing instead of the breaking and the behind the scenes, because I think people would have maybe had a better idea or a better understanding of what really happened.
That's
where it was kind of in chops, and like I said, it was awkwardly broken up. They kept having breaks.
Yeah.
And you could tell Trisha was just kind of, you know, yeah, it's like, and we're back. We took a snack break. But you know that was not a snack break.
Right.
It was getting too heated for Gabbie, and she had to, like, pull back, say, cut, we're gonna de-escalate this, and then come back, because she was so much about, like, I don't want the drama, I don't want the drama. And also, you know, I know they talked briefly about, you know, kind of what set the whole thing off with, like, Trisha and the herpes. And yeah, and Gabbie didn't, like, I still don't think she understands. I get where Trisha's coming from there. You know, when Gabbie was trying to explain herself about, well, you know, Jason was my friend and I just wanted to let him know, like, you know, I've heard this about her. You should talk to her. Like, talk to her. You don't think they've had that conversation? You don't
Maybe they haven't. I mean, see, and this is where I kind of relate to Gabbie. Like, I feel like I do and I don't. Like, if it was me and I was with somebody who potentially had, you know, something like that, a sexually transmitted disease or whatever, STI, whatever the political term is now, would I want them to kind of warn me about it?
But it also depends too, like, how far along in the relationship were they when Gabbie volunteers this information, like, between Trisha and Jason?
Yeah, that's true.
And I just don't think, personally, it's anyone's business, your sexual history, or, like, to talk about, I wouldn't do it. You know,
you wouldn't warn a friend.
No. I mean, if they were already, like, hanging out and, you know, whatever, I feel like that's on that person to, you know, you're
responsible.
If you're gonna have sex,
if you're gonna get down with a get down, then you better make sure everything's kosher.
Exactly. Yeah. It's your responsibility. And I don't think, you know, whether Gabbie was coming from a good place or not, I just think it's
awkward to insert yourself in that way.
And it's just inappropriate.
Yeah, I mean,
he's a grown man. She's a grown woman.
I see it from both sides of the story. And I mean, I like I said, I kind of see both sides of it in a way. Like, I do think that Gabbie was maybe just really trying to be, you know, considerate of her friend and kind of just, you know, look out for them. But at the same time, like, yeah, when is it crossing the line, you know? Like,
and like I said, I don't know what the time frame of this was either.
Right.
Like how frequently at that point had Trisha and Jason been seeing each other?
I know, if it's right in the beginning, you know, I mean, are you gonna bring that up when it might not even get to that point where they're intimate? Yeah. Or,
well, if you're gonna say it, I feel like you should say it before you think they've been intimate, not after. So, like, I don't think that was ever very clear.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
You know, time frame wise. That's another reason I kind of think she should have just butt out. Because if they had already been seeing each other, because at one point I feel like Gabbie said something like, you know, and I had known for a while.
Yeah, because she was saying that apparently Shane told Gabbie, and she had known for years.
Yes.
Allegedly. She had known for years, and so she only brought it up when Trisha started dating Jason, because then it was relevant to her. It was, it mattered because she was looking out for her friend that she had heard this rumor. But also, okay, herpes, I mean, it's treatable.
Yeah.
So if you've heard about it for years, you don't think by now Trisha's maybe like getting that taken care of?
Right.
I don't know.
Or even if you think that about that person, you don't think that's something that they would probably disclose to their intimate partners. I mean, you would hope so, but yeah. So I don't know. Like I said, from my standpoint, I feel like you shouldn't be talking about somebody else's sexual health, and unless it's like maybe if it was you.
Yeah, like your sister.
Yeah. But, I mean, Trisha apparently said she wouldn't even tell her own sister if she heard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because Gabbie asked her, well, like, what if your sister was dating somebody who, allegedly had, a sexually transmitted disease? Would you feel
inclined
or obligated to share that? And she said, probably not. Like, I would assume that if she's going to get down with somebody, they're going to be responsible, and that's going to be between them.
I mean, I feel like you would hope that, and that is, but look at how many sexually transmitted diseases there are out there because people aren't responsible. You know what I mean?
Well,
so I do feel
partly because they maybe don't know.
They don't know.
How often do you really get
tested?
People really
that's
think
a good
to
point,
get
Jackie.
Tested.
Yeah, that's a really good point. But anyway, yeah, we just wanted to kind of talk about this, kind of give our thoughts, our humble opinions. Everything's allegedly. We're not hating on anybody here.
No.
Just kind of like having a discussion, just giving our thoughts and opinions. Yeah, overall, I just think it was really awkward. They clearly weren't on the same page. I was thinking to myself, did they do a pre-interview session here? But like you said, maybe I feel like they shouldn't have had the behind the scenes and maybe had it all on camera. You edit out what you want to edit out, but that way people kind of get the full context of the situation.
See, I don't think they should have edited out anything. I think from start to finish, they should have. Yeah, because then you're getting the true story behind it. And like I said, yeah, I don't want to keep going on and on about it, but I just feel like from jump, there was a misunderstanding of what this podcast was actually going to be about. Trisha was looking to squash the beef on camera. Clearly, Gabbie had other thoughts in mind, like it was something she wanted to handle off camera, and then just kind of chill on the podcast, which for anybody who is interested in this topic, it's no longer interesting because the interesting stuff happened off camera. And I think that's where Trisha was also feeling this disconnect. Right. She kind of felt like she was
didn't know what she was there for, too. Right. What are we talking about here? Yeah.
And like I said, at the end of the day, I think it was more for Gabbie's benefit. It was the closure she needed and to kind of her therapy session. Yeah. But, with peace and love, I think, she's... I don't think I don't think she came from a bad place, but there was definitely a misunderstanding, I think, overall, which led to the awkwardness and
very true,
and all the breaking.
I don't know. So let us know what you guys think. What do you think about? Would you tell your friend or someone you knew, in the Gabbie and Jason situation? I want to know what you guys think down below. Yeah. Let us know what you thought of the podcast between Gabbie and Trisha. That was.
Did it fall flat for you?
Yeah. Was it? Did you think it was good?
Yeah. Was it? Better than you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, leave all your humble thoughts and all your unwanted opinions, although we want to know your opinions, down below in the comment section. And if you guys liked this little video series, let us know. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know other topics you would like us to discuss. We're going to try to keep it 20 minutes and under for right now, just to see kind of how it goes.
Put feelers out there, yeah.
So
if you guys like these or not.
Yeah, so anyway, I don't know. I thought this was fun.
Yeah, I had a good time.
Yeah, so let us know what you guys think.